And speaking of the election, let's talk about the unemployment number just before the election. Turns out a little fishy.
Yeah, it might be a little fudged there. So more shocking information. It says that people of the census fudged the job numbers leading up to the 2012 election. Jack Welch called it and was actually criticized. Listen to this. He was actually on Cavuto. Listen to his comments here.
I mean, this whole number is made up of a whole mess of assumption. Who's participating, who's not working, who's trying for work but has dropped out, all these things. It just raises the question. I think there ought to be a good discussion about how this number is calculated.
How the number is calculated is one issue, but the issue that we're talking about is how the number was skewed and was fudged, because we're talking about out of nowhere, the unemployment rate dropped from 8.1% to 7.8% at the crucial time between August and September. So if the conventions are over, right? The conventions are over. You wonder if the economy's on track. You got Mr. Economic Business Whiz Mitt Romney coming up the rear, and all of a sudden, the unemployment rate's dropping. And you're thinking, maybe we are on the right track. Jack Welch comes out and says, it's amazing, and I'll just paraphrase, it's amazing what these Chicago guys will do to win an election.
Well, he's saying perhaps, and it's saying what's going to be included next in this statistic is you had a dream about getting a job, you were sad about losing your job and hope one day you can get it. This is something that is so serious and affecting millions of Americans out there. To have a loosey-goosey number about unemployment going forward is infuriating.
That's a bedrock temperature taker of the country. And so in the New York Post today, John Crudele's got an item where he talked to a fella who was actually accused by the government of fudging the numbers. This guy's name is Julius Buckman, and he essentially was told to make up information by his higher-ups in the U.S. Census Bureau.
To make it seem like more people had jobs than had jobs.
Well, what happened was you've got to have 9 out of 10 households have got a report. They weren't in the Philly and the New York areas. So he was told, essentially, somebody called him on the phone and said, quote, go ahead and fabricate it. So this guy, rather than actually calling people, just made stuff up. And the problem with that is if you say that you talk to somebody, essentially you are creating a job. So the more people he fabricated, the higher the number went. And according to the column, it continues to this day.
That's why people say the numbers don't feel right. Maybe the economy may look one way, but it feels a different way.
Well, that's the problem. So what is the real unemployment rate in this country? If you've got
I don't know, is anyone up for an election?
If you've got people in the federal government fabricating a number, I mean, the Fed right now is thinking about easing, quantitative easing number 3, part 3.
Right.
Well, if the number is not right, and they do that, that could have dire consequences for the country.
Right.
Sure, what is the number?
Meanwhile, 10 minutes now after the hour.